which I found a little bit more difficult. Let's see how it's going to go. Number Hey in the SIFRA Tzniuta. It says, Rabbi Yafeh Shaah Shabir Kan V'zel L'Shano. Is this where we're at? This is where we're at. There's some arichas down below. He says like this, Yud E Law. There's such a thing as a Yud E Law. He named Be'etz Chaim B'shar Erik Anpin. Bir Rabbeinu Zelsha Tlas Rashon Eloin. There were three heads up above. Eloin Kadishim Haim Be'erik Anpin. The first one is called Kesser, also known as a Gugolta. Then there's another base is a Viradachya, Hanikra B'mochi Elor Stimor. And then, number Gimel, there's a Mucha Stimor. So there's a difference between the Mucha Stimor Elor and the Mucha Stimor Stimor. He Chachma, which is Chachma. Ve'edach Atlas Reishin Heim Shlosh Shemos Shal Shlosh Vehem Av Sag Uma. So they represent three different ways that we can spell the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. So we'll go past this. We'll see it, I think, a second time. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, all right. Okay, and he said, V'chem Mamash Gimel Osius Yaku. And those three names, Av Sag Asam, really correspond to three letters, which are Yud, Kev, and Vov. Yud Elor. This is what it says. This is why it says there's such a thing as a Yud Elor. Shehi bekin shem av shebekeser ater ba'atara. That crown. That is, it's a crown, some kind of a surrounding idea. The atika. So this is, let's say it again. It's the atara, the very top of atika. So atara, he means, so itra. That word itra that we're using all the time really means atara. So he ha-keser, the Erik Anpin, and that's the keser of Erik Anpin, who kruma ilah, which is going to be the up of this sort of cross that he talks about, krum the keser, atzma, is dakik v'sasim. So I don't know if I said this the last time, but for this phrase is dakik v'sasim. If you turned it around and you said v'sasim is dakik, then it would make more sense, because first it closes it, and then it becomes more refined, and it it closes up the mostly more on the bottom. He said, or we said that in other Pirush, and perhaps that what it means, and then it becomes more zdakech, and the light comes out. But he doesn't say it that way. He says it is zdakech upon refined and close it. So I don't know how that works. If there's how I worked in grammar. Now looking back on this again, he said there was three different heads, and he named them. And then we came over here to this phrase. Let's see. Ve'elu, we're on this word here. Ve'elu atlas reishim heim shlosha shema shel shlosha, which is asam. I don't know why he says shlosha. What he means by that. So we have a note here on number Lamed Bet down below. And Lamed loves Reza Reba Eitz Chaim. He said, B'zel Shana b'toch devarav. He said, Nizvara la'el. Ki gimel minich avayu shal atzamos yesh begimel reshim. There are three different, I guess, in the root or in the panemius of these heads. Shekal rosh mishloshtem yesh ba gimel havayas mishunos, because each head there is going to have gimel havayas, three different. Each head is going to have these three. Now maybe that's what he meant by he said shlosh. Ki gimel lebayas el yonin deresha ilor on nikra gulgalta de Erik Anpin, heim b'milu yudin and nikra av, ovachem yud beis osius, and then it comes out that in them there are 12 letters, hapeshutos, shebehem, im klalos shloshtem hare yud gimel, and then you take the klal, the kolel, or this kind of kolel of them, and it becomes 13. So then he said, "V'chein gimel havayas cheva b'reisha tinyana." So he wanted to say that there's three havayas there. He didn't say that they were asam. He's explaining this. He says they're all avs. There are three avs there. That's what he says. And he says three avs makes 12 letters. So those who listen to to the shiurim on astrology that you see the number 12 moving around here, and then one more makes 13 as you bind them together, or the root of them perhaps. V'chein gimel levayas acheva bereishit inyan, and the second one, anikra avivira b'milui sag, but these are all in the milui sag. Sag also has 12 letters, or 3 times 4 is 12. V'hem yud beis osius, v'hem klalus Hashem atzmo, hare yud gimel. So that's 13 again. But he said, I'm just trying to get myself not unconfused. I think he said it's a sag, so that means it's a yud vav talid, k yud vav aleph vav k yud. There's according to that, there's 10 letters there, but he says there's 3 of them. Now, I'm a little confused because he makes it come out to be 12. So 12 is the basic letters of yud k vav k times 3. But I'm not sure exactly what he's doing here, so I'll keep the idea open. V'im klalus Hashem ba'atzmach hare yud gimel v'chen gimel levayas acheva v'milui ma da'alafim. This has been erased to Lisor, which he says is the Mochos Dimor, Hanikra Mochos Dimor, Ubahem Yud Beis Osis of Klalus Hashem ba'atzmo hare yud gimel. So my question is I'm not sure how the milui, which is sag or ma or av, how that actually translates if you say you're dealing with that. And then he says, but if you have 3 of them, it makes 12 letters. Well, obviously it would make 30 letters if you were using all of the letters, but he says that's sag. I'm not sure how they fit together. Let's read on for number lamed bet. But here we understand that there are 3 havayas in each one, and overall there is sag. They're an asab, one of the 3. Now it says V'hem mamash gimel osius yaku. So it comes out that the 3 letters that we've been talking about all the time is yud, ke, and vav, that these asam, av, sag, ma also corresponds to this. So let's go a little bit here in number lamed gimel. Lamed gimel down below says, Ritzon alomer, ki os yud, the shem havaya, Romans l'chavavai b'milui av v'os hey rishon d'shem b'vaya Romans l'chavai b'milui sag v'os vav d'shem b'vaya Romans l'chavai b'milui ma. And then he says v'os hey achron d'shem b'vaya Romans l'chavavai b'milui ben. Okay, that's kind of like threw that in, as we understand that. Like before be'etz chaim that explains over there v'zel l'shono ki mekal os v'os b'shem kavaya yotzech b'vaya achas, from each one of the letters of the name Havaya comes out another Havaya. Each one of them represents Havaya achas. Ve'ein chiluk beinechem rak ba'ofen miluyuehem. So that turns out, not again trying to understand how it is that you have the 4 basic letters, and each one of them has an Havaya within it, he says, how they actually come out. Ve'ein chiluk b'nechem rak ba'ofen miluehem. But if you make a milui out of them, that's where you see you break them down even. Or I'm not sure the mechanism he's talking about, whether they're panimi to everything, or they're which I would say is possible, but that actually they are manifest as well. They come out in the gilui. Mishum havaya yotzach havaya achad ve'ein chiluk b'nechem. The only difference between them is in their miluyim. Adkan v'ayin shom kol hemshech ba'orach. There's more that was said about that. Trying to get a picture here. So number lamed dal. We're going to go past that. Let's read number lamed gimel. We'll keep reading on. The Zecher she'omer Yud Elor shehi b'bechina shem Av shebekeser. So the Yud Elor represents the Av Bekeser. The Isater be'atara, that is crowns with a crown, as crowned. And he explains that this return to the Itra actually means a Torah. It's a crown, a surrounding top. V'hu ha'keser de Ariach, and that's referring to the very top part of Ariach, Erik Anpin. He kruma elor, so he says this. Now we're talking about the kruma elor, which he said was the second one. Kodem krum, the keser atzma, it's a krum on the keser itself. And here we have a number lamed hey, the zdakek v'sosim, that becomes much more refined, and there we got that word again, that phrase that becomes refined, and then it seals up. Now, so I'm having a little trouble understanding how that works, but maybe my definition of being refined is wrong, or my perspective. So let's see, we would be on number Lamed Hay. Number Lamed Hay is down below. Let's see if we can get some help here. Get a little bit closer here. So he says on that phrase, which said that, he says, he kruma ilo krum the keser atzma. It's the krum of keser itself. Yesh the forest kavanas bebeis afanim. So the kavan also, we want to say what he's trying to say in two different ways. Echad, the kruma ilo ha'omer b'sifra d'tzniuta. So we have this phrase, kruma ilo. We're talking about this at the second head. Enu kruma davira. It's not the same thing as what we call the kruma davira. He krum the keser atzma. It's the krum of the keser itself. So we're understanding that the keser is, this is positioning in my mind, is panimi, and it's surrounded by this krum. That's possible. What it means came first is this keser. It has a krum. The chem meir abo shem ab the keser. So no problem there. Avacha bekruma davira, and the kruma davira is something else. Yesh lomer the meir bo shem sag da avira. It comes the name sag. That's what shines in the avira. So we have something different. So it's not the name av. Bira the vorim. Now let me explain this. He says sheyesh berosh beis krumim. There are two krumim in the rosh. Krumi lo mechubav the gugolta the krumel to hachofef al amoach. The chofef al amoach means the mochas limah. Kumavucha begemor and chulin v'zel deshono. It says apparently over there. He says nikiv krum shal moach. So apparently there's a membrane here. The word krum sounds like membrane that we use in chulin over there. He says nikiv krum shal moach. So there's a hole in the krum. Rabbi Shmuel the Amrit Vayhu. He says, "Kuma rebeldoch af al gabe the inkiv tito." So he says, "Kuma ilo," even though the low inkiv tito, that the lower part of it is not damaged. I'm not sure what that means. Adkan, I don't know that Gemara offhand. Abir Rashi wants to explain that. What does he mean? V'zal deshono. Kuma ilo ha'mechaber the gugolta bebifnim. So that's the part. Apparently, there's a membrane that covers over the skull itself. A tatar, krum, rock. This is a much softer krum. Shamoch mona besocha, that the moach, which is in their cave, they're talking about the brain itself, is placed. It's a sack over the brain itself. Now, in this case, the brain he's talking about is the mochas dimah adkan. Rei ba'otzi ba'urim. So now we're going to see more Ala'el and Perik Aleph. Apparently, you have to go back over there. B'shem b'Pirush arriva the Yisecha b'zel deshono al Sefer Yetzirah. He says, so I'm trying to understand Sefer Yetzirah here. Shabir degam barosha, parts of that explains over there that also at the very beginning of the parts of Elyon, the top, the yesh base krumim ein sham. So in other words, he has explained. So it's a raya to the idea that there are actually two krumim. So it says the word ilah after the word kruma. It doesn't say kruma devira, so there must be two of them. Koloshan the SIFRA d'tzniut to the Elim Perik Aleph. He says ki iri kan bekrum elyon ha'mechuba the gugolta bebifnim canal. So inside of that, that's what you're going to see there. Now apparently that's one explanation, and so now we're going to come to a second one. Furthermore, he says yesh devar begavanas Yafeh Shaah, according to what the Yafeh Shaah is trying to say, and he's laying it out pretty plainly, pretty clearly. The Kumba law Omer Khan Hainu Kumba Devira. So he says over there, so it's possible there aren't two. It's really the same thing. So it also concludes over here that says like this. This dakik v'sasim, once again. So it becomes refined, and as a result of that, it sounds like it closes it up. Behind the Kruma the Ravira, Shama the Ere Beperik Allah, Vesechel the Shoma, Kruma the Ravira is Dakek Vasasim. That's the one that is Nisdake Vasasim Adkan. Okay, at any rate, I'm still trying to hear this. We call Macham Nechshav Kamo Krum the Kasser, but even so, it's considered as a membrane. I would call it membrane now because of the Gemara. Krum the Kasser Ans Bechel Pirush the Yafeh Shaah. So it's like it's the Krum itself. That's the Krum. Yecha Krum Kul Tachas Agulgolta, because it's underneath the Gulgolta, and therefore it's going to be in between the Gulgolta and the Mochstimah. Ukava'inyan Shekasa Bibira Gruala, the Gruas was Laela Bababa Perik, I didn't quite see that. Shekasa Vizel the Shan the Visimbacha Gulgolos, Vasiam of the end of the Gulgolos, who Kruma Devira, Adkan. So there's a riot to the fact that they're actually one and the same. They're not two different ones, but they're one and the same. Adkan. V'reba Otzebi Urim, look over there in the Otzebi Urim, the Ele Perik Aleph, where he says, Ki kach muvur gam b'shon mamari Rashbi, b'shem ksev yad Rizal, shekruma de Ravir who b'china achrona, the b'china is Gulgolta Ein Sham. Let me read that again. I just couldn't talk. Ki kach muvur gam b'shar mamari Rashbi, b'shem ksev yad Rizal, Shekruma de Ravira, who bechina achrona, that's the final aspect, the bechina is Gulgolta of the aspect of the skull. So what does that mean? That there's only one and it's related to the skull? Not 100% sure. Let's go on to the next one. Number Vav. So number Vav says, Rabbi ZOHAR. Look at the ZOHAR. Sha'arich Khan. B'tochen the bar of the os yud ilo who sod avira. So let's go back over what he's really saying. He says the essence of what he's saying is that yud ilo who sod avira. Now, why? Shebetoch kruma davira, because that's the yud that's inside of the kruma davira. The osius avira is the os yud. Umeir bo shem sag sheyesh bo gimel yudim. Now, I'm not sure that I got that. I may want to read it again. So, how you have a yud, umeir bo, and in that yud shines the name sag, and the name sag has within it gimel yudin. We know that. We call yud na'asa shem av demilu yudin. These are really confusing. And all the yud, we call yud, so there's three yudin. Inside of each yud, there's a shem av, the milu yudin. V'hu sod or, that is the or, shall bechinas or mayim rakia. Now, once again, this phrase, I don't know what to touch it onto, which is the concept of light, water, and firmament, or heaven. So what it means, shehu bechinas mishko. Going back to the or, he wants to say, and Mayim and Rakia. So Mayim and Rakia, I'm not sure how we work it out, but apparently those are the two sides of the balance scale. And the or is that yud. We're going to read this again. He said, that balance or that weight. Look over there and you're going to get it again. Well, for my sake, I need to read this again because it's got a lot of moving parts. So he says, Rabbi ZOHAR. This is what the ZOHAR says. Sha'arich kan v'tochen tavaros. Let's get to the really essence of what he's saying. That the letter Yud ilo hu sod avira. So we understand that the Yud makes another word if you plant it in the word or. We saw that before. But anyway, Yud ilo hu sod avira shebetoch kruma davira. So there is a crust or membrane, which is the kruma, and inside of that, that's the yud that makes the avira, that makes the concept of kruma, the avira. The osios avira who os yud, so that is the avira that makes the word yud, the osios avira who the os yud. What makes that word is the letter yud. Umeir bo shem, and in that this is where it gets harder. The osius aviro ku os or yud. Okay, I think he meant to say that the yud makes the word avira. Umeir bo shem sag, and in this avira, what actually shines there is the name sag sheyesh bo gimel yudin. Now, again, he says, "V'kol yud na'asa shem abdemilu yud," and every yud makes the name has within it. So this is the yud. This is the three yudin of the name sag, and each one of the yudin is actually an av. The milu yud v'hu sod or. That's the or that we're talking about. That's the ultimate essence of the yud. One more time, one more reading. Call yud na'asa shem av the milu yud, and every yud of the name sag is actually an av. V'hu sod or, and that av, which is, he says it makes a name av, demilu yud. V'hu sod or, that's the secret, the or shall bechinas or mayim rekia, which is the very, he wants to point here that somehow these three words, which he hasn't developed anywhere yet, that, I can really talk about it, but since he says that this is the bechinas of the mishkal, it means that you have a balance scale, which I think would be the mayim rekia, because we saw some of this idea previously, and the or, which represents the yud, which he says is he said this is a yud in a milui form of name av, and there are three of them. They go along with the or, mayim, and rekia, as shehu b'bechinas mishkal, sheyesh bo shem av de milui yudin ein sham ba'orech. So there is a lot of idea there. We still have a few minutes. Okay, less than I thought. And let's look at Lamed Vav. I just find it very difficult to put that together. So now he's going to try to straighten this out, and we'll see if we get to it in this time. Not to mix us the Shana B'Dilab. So let me skip through this and get you the essence. He said, V'zel Shana, the Lashon Zohar Chai Sham. B'shorish or, the root of this yor, Yotzech Midas Elyon. The concept of or comes from this das elyon. Now, what do we mean by das elyon? K'bavur b'drashin, shorsh reishis amshocha, the root of where the Mississippi River, this stream, starts flowing out, is in shorsh reishis, the beginning of that hamshocha. Ki das the avach nimshach min das elyon, because what we call the das of Abba, which is going to go into Zer Anpin and manifest there. He says that actually comes from a das elyon. Now, okay, fine. V'reish is called Edo HaMshachos Hu HaDas. So the beginning of all Hamshacha, and any rate, the concept comes from das elyon, the Atik Yomen that comes from Atik Rik Yomen, and the das elyon of Atik Yomen is the Reish de Lo Isyada. It's unknowable what it actually is. Who gonis ben gulgalta nemocha, because this gonis is in between this das is in between the gulgalta and the mocha. So he's making it sound like it's the middle. It's the middle between what? Gulgalta, which I guess he would say would be the right side, and the mocha would be the left side. I guess that's what he means, and it's in the middle. This is the concept of what we've been working over this word, called the moach avira, the Yosef al kuma the kuma. That he said once again, the Yosef which is sitting on top of the kuma the mucha. Kuma yulod is dakik fasasim, and he throws the phrase in again. V'shem avir v'sod os yud. So the name avir that we're talking about, because we're talking about the kuma davira. The word avi that we're talking about is the sod of los yud, or kadmor. So no one wants to say that in the or, because we said that again, the or is inside of this is a os yud, the beginning os yud, etc. And there's something to see over there. Shehu bechinas or av the yudin. It's the concept of the name av, a light that is a light. So it makes all these different strands, different pathways. Shehem Cyrus the Dikna. Now, that has to be read again, I think. Because what are these strands? He says, or av. The or av turns itself into the Dikna. Shem Shlosh Av Yud Shlosh Av, and he shows his Av, and you take 3 Avs, you put them together, and they make the word Rayo. Rayo is the sweetened din of a kli. Excuse me, Rayo v'kli, Rayo and the kli. All of this needs more hesber. Nimshach bekruma desdakech, so it extends itself into a kruma desdakech. Bedashim bevura bedrash berchas kahanim bekol barama. He says where over there. Go moving along. He says sheor chesed da'atik. So he says the or of the chesed of atik manifests itself in the gugol to the Erik Anpin. So the arich nigla beped arich, and that or comes of the chesed winds up coming at his mouth, cutting out from his mouth. A muach avira kruma, so that muach avira, which is a kruma, bo shem sag, and he shows us a shem sag. Shlosha yudin, there's 3 yudins in it. And behem na'aseh shlosha shemes, and from each one of those yudins, he's going backwards, getting deeper and deeper into it. He says behem na'aseh shlosha shemes of av, which we heard up above the dikna. Those are the 3 avs that you find in the 12 parts of the dikna. So that plus kolel, or makes it 13. Saros vitzinuros, these are all hairs, but they're channels. Kli, the rayo, it is the kli. And this really would like to know a lot more about this. It is the kli, that is these hairs, that produce this rayo. Yudi lord is ater, hu kruma law. So that is the kruma shem sag mikol and mikol os yotze shem yud in the name of av, the spelling of av, the yudin. Bechinas or mishkal, which is the concept of the light that goes on the balance scale ad kan the yudin. It's like the weight. It's the weight that makes things work. Nimshach min hadas so it comes out. Nimsha min adas the resh de lo isyada. From there, hamizgala b'moach avira kruma des dakech. So it's rimsala b'moach avira kruma des dakech. So the avira is a kruma that becomes more refined. So to devarim. So let me explain this. He said before yud ke vav al tlas resh miloin. Each one of those letters refers to one of the upper heads. Os yud al muach avira mishkal, or, which is the mishkal, the weight itself, which is the or. Nimshak besod das elyon deresh de lo isyada, umeir bavira, and it shines into this avira. Or yud avira kayudua. So the or yud, that makes, I don't know if it means makes, or that he says that it's the same thing as avira. Hey, who mochastimor refers to the mochastimor, which is revealed later in the nose. And before vav al golgolta, so the vav refers to the skull itself. Chesed the atik, hivorta, the white atik he calls it. Kesed the rich, which is the kesser of leek. Ad kan v'ain sham a richus gadola. He has lots more to say about that. Well, that timed out pretty good. So we went through the whole thing. That's it for today, and I'll be here if you get back. Probably going to get better with people coming back. Okay, call Toof. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kola.